Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, chapter 17 of Illidan by William King. Took a little break last week to recharge. Thanks to everyone for letting me do that, but I'm back now, so let's get... Even though Akama seemingly teleported away in the last chapter, he didn't actually leave, just walked a bit further upslope. Out of sight and out of mind, still observing the massive gateway Illidan was opening. He was furious, and a little bit terrified. The gateway itself was bad enough. The Ashtung leader could feel the unholy strength of it, even from his vantage point. It had devoured hundreds of souls, and sucked in all the magical energy from leagues around. And Akama still didn't have a bloody clue what it was even for. But one thing was certain. Illidan's plans had layers. Complex layers. Like some kind of Rubik's Cube onion or something. But even though Akama almost admired Illidan's genius, he was still pissed off at him. The betrayer had betrayed. Broken his promise to spare the broken. Their souls had been harvested just like Maev's followers during the battle, just to open this goddamned mystery gateway. Now, you might be wondering why Akama even assisted Illidan with this trap in the first place. The betrayer had already used sorcery to rip a portion of Akama's soul out of his body, so why would he help that guy? Well, Illidan had turned that portion of Akama's spirit into a shade, and that shade could not only devour Akama if he stepped out of line again, but could also corrupt the rest of the Ashtung people, and Akama kinda liked his people. So he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't, really. For all the good that did him. He'd chosen his own over Maiev, and yet the broken were slaughtered, and Maiev had been delivered right into the clutches of her archenemy. And her archenemy was now standing triumphantly over her. Akama shuddered at the thought of what Illidan planned to do to Maiev. She'd become the focus of his rage, hatred and grievances, so it wasn't likely that Illidan was going to grant her a quick death, involving tickles and hugs. The betrayer's great spell then shrieked to a climax. The split in reality looked like some kind of oil spill, but inside the swirling vortex, Akama caught glimpses of an alien world. The army that had ambushed Maiev and her forces then approached the portal. They didn't enter it though, they just started standing guard over it, and Akama couldn't help but think that was probably just in case something came through from the other end. More portals then opened, and a new force emerged, consisting of the elven tattooed fighters from the Black Temple. Looked like the army Illidan had been training was finally going to see some action. Akama then watched them move en masse beneath the betrayer's gaze, and the resemblance between them and their master struck Akama more so now than ever before. They were just like him, might as well be his kids. Meanwhile, Vandal could feel the energy in the air. His skin was all tingly, and the enormous portal was almost calling to him. The area around the gate looked as if an ancient battle had taken place. Skeletons and desiccated bodies sprawled everywhere. If Vandal hadn't known better, he would have thought this the site of some long ago war. But his spectral sight revealed the truth. This battle wasn't old. It was new! Now, an hour ago, Vandal would have said this was just another normal day. There had been an increase in soldier activity at the temple recently, more drills than usual, and rumours of sorcerers leaving the temple. But as for the demon hunters, it was just training, all day every day. Right up until a few moments ago, when some horns sounded, and Varadis told them to assemble in the courtyard with their weapons prepared. And now they were here. One thing that did surprise Vandal when he arrived was that the spell opening the gateway had not distinguished between those that fought for Illidan and those who fought against him. Seemed like it just sucked souls out indiscriminately. And Vandal couldn't help but wonder whether that was why he and his comrades had been deployed last. Whatever their purpose was, it had nothing to do with this particular battle. Illidan was preserving their lives for something else. And as Vandal looked at the flickering, shimmering portal, he figured out what that purpose was. Soon. Meanwhile again, Illidan turned Maev's unconscious form over with the tip of his hoof. She was skilled and powerful, there was no doubt about that. She'd done pretty well in the battle, considering the odds against her. Hell, she'd even managed to almost distract Illidan at a crucial moment of the ritual. Almost. But whatevs, Maiev was now his prisoner. She'd never trouble him again. Illidan then allowed himself a smirk of satisfaction. This was a good omen, a sign of how the rest of this day would go. Don't be too confident though, he thought. It is foolish to read anything more into the patterns random chance throws up. He then took one last lingering glance at Maiev and made himself a promise that she will suffer as he had. Ideally, 10,000 years of pain, but she might not live for another 10 millennia, so he'd need to find a way to concentrate an equivalent amount of agony into a shorter amount of time. But enough of that. The betrayer then raised his hands wide and spoke the final words of his great spell. The structure of the portal stabilised, and the way to Nathrazar was clear. This was the best day ever. Capturing Maiev was great, but now he'd succeeded in the greatest feat of sorcery in Outland since its catastrophic creation. He then turned to his demon hunters. They were a weapon he'd spent a long time forging, and he wondered whether they'd even make it through the first battle, or shatter like a flawed blade created by a shit smith. They'd been gifted with power, trained by masters, selected from the most driven individuals with the greatest thirst for vengeance against the Burning Legion. They had survived where most others would have died. But that didn't mean a bloody thing. They could still perish within the next few hours. Even Illidan might die. His whole life could end up being an empty cosmic joke. But it was too late to worry about that now. They were kinda committed at this point. So he gestured for his demon hunters to follow, and then went through the portal to confront his onrushing destiny. And we're leaving it there! So there you go. 3 different perspectives on pretty much the exact same thing. And the next chapter follows on directly from that final moment, so don't worry. We're not going to jump over to Maiev sat in a cell thinking to herself for 10 minutes or something. Although that would be pretty funny. As usual, link in the description if you're interested in buying this book. Also, there's links to my Discord server and my Patreon page too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!